Hi, Cromwell here. So I grew up and still am a wrestling fan. And recently, they have been ruining my childhood. They've been breaking the fourth wall, giving us the behind the scenes of many of the moments that I felt were real while I was growing up. And one of the most interesting things that I've come to see from these exposes is that it is actually possible for someone to be injured, even have a concussion, and keep on fighting only to discover that for most of the fights they were doing things but all the while injured. They were not even themselves. And so you might not be a fan like I am, but we are all very, very similar to wrestlers. Because just like them, the adrenaline rush that we experience, the sense of duty, the day-to-day living can sometimes mask the fact that we've been hurt or we've been wounded and we just keep on going. And no, I'm not talking about physical injuries here. I'm talking about the heart. And so maybe for the first time in a while, or maybe it's the first time ever, you've ever pondered the question, am I hurting? Am I wounded? And so this episode is a conversation that explores that question and 3 questions to ask or to check to see if you are. There is a tendency to run after this intro because no one likes to face this fact. But I promise that I'll be gentle, I'll be authentic, and this will be worth your time. So come on in and enjoy the pod. So I'm David Cromwell, and I believe in the virality of thought and the power of conversations to shape how people live for the better. This space is where those conversations happen and a home to people who are on a journey to truly live the way we were created to. Welcome to this safe space. Welcome to Cromwell's Harbor. Okay, so this moment feels very poetic for me because all the last episodes were literally like one episode, like it was literally a couple of episodes me just saying one thing, and that is to tell people to make the very best of the year and the how of how to do so, where I shared the gems from my journey and gems from other people's journey. And if you missed it, I recommend you go check it out, just in case you need that push or reminder to just keep on going this year. Like I said at the end of that episode, or those groups of episodes, is that this year is a pivotal year. Try as much as possible to whatever it is that you would like to be a feature over the next 10, 15 years. Try to do it in some seed form this year. All right. Okay, but continuing with the heart of this episode. This episode is a bit poetic for me because it takes me back to a couple of years when I actually started the podcast. So this was actually meant to be the episode I was meant to follow the episode tagged A Journey of Authenticity, which, by the way, I think is a big favorite from what I've seen. But then life happened, right? Pretty much. And, things just kind of fell through the cracks. I was kind of growing through things, dealing with stuff. But you know how people say that if you love something, let it go. If it comes back to you, then you know it's yours. Or how you know something is really good when you let it go. They always just find a way of just sticking around. And this episode just happens to be one of those things. So what happened back then? Let me jump back to 2023. So it's 2023 and I'm having one of the toughest seasons in my life. I'm going through a breakup at that point, and at this period I'm just trying to process exactly what has happened, because if you know me, I love like a rock star. Oh, I love like Tony Hawk. I don't even know. And so a lot of myself have been put into this relationship to try to like make things work. And, things just didn't pan out the way I would have loved for it to. And there was just a lot of processing and a lot of healing that had to happen in that time frame. A lot of questions. And I think at that point I was coming out of it. And around that same time frame, I also had just left my job. So I was dealing with, a little bit of that in addition to I'm trying to even try to remember the timelines, because I think there was like an overlap a little. Yeah, I think I had just gotten a new job like 2 months after the breakup. So like there was just like an overlap of some, a couple of things that were happening around that period. But let's say that really took some. It took some virtue left me. It really did. And so I was just coming out of that season, and I felt like I had really picked up some things that I felt would really help, because I had seen a lot, just in my own personal journey, and I really wanted to be able to reach out to anyone else who was in that shoe, because like it was a very pivotal point in my life that I feel like things could have gone in any direction, and I wanted to share that experience. The interesting part is then, how do we then link it to this episode? Why is this happening now in 2025? So I had a conversation with a colleague, and we're talking. I happen to be one of those people that like to know my colleagues outside of just work. If you're someone that I think we share similar values or we're quite similar people. So we're talking, and she also had like a bad breakup, similar to mine. Two young lovers giving the best that they can to make young love work. Just like my story, where young love is full of passion, emotions, but also a lot of inexperience. And in the aftermath of the relationship, we're two people trying to find themselves. Who am I? What went wrong? What could have been done better? Questions, right? And then it dawned on me that these conversations need to be had. We need to talk about this on the podcast. And we're not restricting this to just relationships. The following episodes will be for a wide range of things: for the job loss, for the parent that never showed up, for the failed exam that never left you the same, for the failed relationship that you never recovered from the person that you lost. You held them once in your hands, or you looked up to them, or you loved them, and then you saw them lowered in the ground and they never rose again. To maybe that person that felt awkward growing up in isolation. I'm talking about real stuff. I'm talking about the matters of the heart. But before I get into the remaining of the episodes, because I don't want to address everything in one episode, I want to just break it across multiple episodes. I want to use this episode to answer the question, or to ask the question rather: are you wounded? Are you hurting? And this episode is not to force drama on you. If the answer is no, then that's fine. Right? You can skip it or listen through for someone else, or more importantly, actually listen through to be sure that you're not in the category of people that I feel need this episode but don't know they do. So just for good measure, take this as a check, right? To ask yourself the questions, and to contemplate the stories, and just to ponder the heart of these episodes. So why does this matter to me? For a couple of reasons, right? Because I know what it's like to hurt, and I know how much it impacts all that you do, even after the experience is long gone. And I'll share this even more in the following episodes. But I craved what it felt like to be me again, like to be in a better place. And I'm still growing, but I think the approach that I took just really helped to be able to stay on track and to just keep the course of the man that I always wanted to be, and to do the things I always wanted to do. But I think it's something that we don't say so much, and that's the fact that a lot of people are hurting and don't know. And the most interesting thing is that hurt actually impacts how you interact with the world. I heard this from Stephen Covey that said, we see the world the way we are and not as it is. Your hurts, your inner wounds are shaping your actions, what you do, how you see the world, how you interact with people, if they're not attended to. And yes, it's unfair, but it's the truth, and we have to address it. Right. Back to my conversation with my colleague. Right. As we continue to talk about her experience, I would ask a question, and then she will respond, and she will confirm. And did this thing happen in your previous relationship? Did that happen? Did this? I know you've told me this before. It happened here. Do you think that's impacting how things played out here? And together we could trace like a line from past experiences, previous hurts, previous features, to things that have happened in the present, and even on the other person's side as well. And it was quite clear to see that hurts and experiences had been laced around all the actions that they had taking. They were acting, but they were not necessarily themselves. And it wasn't necessarily because I was deep, it's because I have seen Shaggy. I'm joking, but I'm also not joking. Hurt just has this way of leaving fingerprints in a predictable way. And it's particularly important that we address this here because if this podcast is going to achieve its goal of shaping how people live for the better, we're going to have to be able to shape the things that are currently shaping people. If we're going to go on a journey to live the way we're created to, hurt is not part of how we're created to operate. Right? It's being whole. All right. So I'm excited for the journey we're about to take with the next couple of episodes. So stick with me. I know we might be shy to show people that are listening to a podcast that's talking about something this emotional, but just know that you're truly being strong. And if it helps, you can hide the fact that you're listening in public. But do me a favor and answer this important question. Not the other questions I want to talk about, but this important one. And that is, what are we? And don't tell me we are the world, we are the children. But you've been listening to this podcast and probably been enjoying the episodes, but have you followed? Have you given me feedback? I have said that we are on a journey and you have just allowed me to be, if you're keeping your thoughts to yourself and not sharing your own, your own side of the journey, please don't make me look insane. And this is also an opportunity for me to just express my gratitude to everyone who has been a part, anyone that has supported this podcast with actually sharing, actually telling me their experiences. The comment feature is off, but I'm really grateful to everyone who dropped comments, who sent me messages, who sent me voice notes, who asked me questions. I am indeed grateful. It's because of things like this that will make the journey actually sweet for me, and I'm so grateful that you will lend me your ears, you lend me your heart, and go on this journey with me. Thank you. And I know we're just starting. Like, we are just started. We are going a very, 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 there's a long journey ahead of us and a lot of people that will be blessed by what we're doing here. And so let's share with a friend, let's like, let's follow, let's do the things. All right. Back to my question. Are you wounded? To many people, this might be the first time you actually sat down with your weakness, because our generation revolts weaknesses. We always turn our conversations to podcasts where we're always learning something, like one thing I'm learning. Our problems are usually things that we faced in the past, but now we have learned, we're better, we're stronger. One of the weirdest things that happens is when I have friends that will call me for counsel and comfort, and they themselves be comforting themselves throughout the call. I'm telling them, this is what I need, this is what I don't need. And I'm just like, why did you call me in the first place? Oh man. And one thing I've seen is that I think we really need the strength to be vulnerable, because it takes strength to be able to ask the important questions like, am I hurting? I want you to take a step back and ask those questions, right? And I think the first thing to ask is, does it still hurt? Does it still hurt? So interestingly, I actually have been injured recently. So there was a flood in my estate, and man, woman, what women do to men. There was a flood and I was still trying to make my way through water just because I wanted to go and see my girlfriend. But either ways, so and so I fell into a ditch. There was obviously no hope for the work day anymore, but I just felt the need to to make my way through. I wanted to support, because interestingly, my girlfriend has resumed in the same building that I work. So I wanted to go with her together, in the bus, etc. And things happened. All right, so I fell into this ditch that was enough to cover. I'm a 6-footer, and the fact that this ditch was able to cover me in water till my neck area, so I got bruised, right? And it's been a journey of healing for me physically. And one of the most interesting things about healing was how there was a period which just happened yesterday where it looked like the injury was drying up. But one of the most interesting things, or one of the weirdest things that happened, was that it was hurting. When something is healing, it shouldn't be hurting. And so I call my mom, and she does what every Yoruba woman does. She decides to boil hot water and she's pressing it. And to the greatest surprise is that liquid stuff started coming out of the injury. Not to disgust you or anything, but something that looked like he had healed actually was not healing the right way. And the way we were able to tell was hurt. It was painful. And so, similar to physical injuries, emotionally speaking as well, you can tell if you've healed from an experience from what it feels like. Does it still hurt? The memories or the thought of it, does it still trigger? Does it still make you relive the pain? And sometimes, like injuries, you can cover up, a memory or cover up an experience or cover up a hurt. But it might look on the surface like it's good, but when that thing is touched, does it hurt again? And that might be a cue for us to intentionally open it up so it can actually heal the right way. And funny thing about the way we work is that, you can cover up with being so stoic. You can be like, oh, use nice deep phrases about, oh, it's not that, you can forgive, but you can never forget, etc. But and you will have a good point when you say so. But when you truly healed from something, even though you remember, you don't remember it from the lenses of pain. Like you've processed it, you're better now. And I think if the memory of something or if that thing still hurts, it might be a sign that you haven't healed from it yet. Second thing I would ask is, can you trace the moment where it all changed? Do you feel like you have changed? So can you trace like a line to a point in time where you used to be a particular way before, and then something happened and then you became another way? So let me not be vague and let me speak from a personal lens. So personally, the loss of my close relatives, particularly male figures in my life, really had an impact on me. It just gave me this sense of responsibility, this sense of drive and intensity that I did not have prior, right? And I remember when I was in training school, so there's a company that I resumed for, and we were in this training school where we were together in this, house getting trained, etc. And my roommate at that time, had this gift of being able to read people, and he was trying to read my own mailbox and tell me things about me. And then he said a couple of things, and then he says that what I see from you is that I see you're a principled person, but I see that you've had tangible experiences that have shaped how you see the world and fuels the reason why you are so principled. And he was very right. Like, this guy read me well. All right. Sometimes it's a strength, sometimes it's a weakness. But this is an example of the fact that something happened and I became someone else. Ponder some thoughts, right? Maybe you were a bit more expressive before, and then you had a relationship, and then because that partner was not so expressive, you felt like, oh, I put too much energy, and then you became more withdrawn. Or you failed an exam, and after that you stop pushing to chase after your dreams. Or job interview failures, and you just became content with how things were and you didn't want to push yourself as much. So check, like, are there significant moments where it feels like as if you shifted, where things changed for you? My last question would be, are you unable to strike a balance? Do you feel like you tend towards extremes? And the reason why this is important is because healthy many times looks like balance. Hurts have this way of culturing us to function from extremes. And the extreme can be the polar opposite of what you experienced, or it can be the exact thing that happened to you. So let me give an example of some things. Do you seem to have this extreme distaste for men or the opposite gender, right? Or women for a man? Or do you crave, or did you miss like fatherly affirmation? And so you have this extreme receptiveness to men, like you crave their affirmation, so you don't even know how to say no to a man or a woman. Or were you not accepted while growing up, and so you do anything that it takes to make people like you, so like you're like a people pleaser, right? Or did you experience like poverty at a very, while you were growing up, so you do anything possible to get a better job, and your career has become an obsession where you're willing to give anything else up for your career? Do you lean more to doubting people, than trusting them in relationship, in business. Like you just always have this sense of always like doubting, even when they've not given you a reason to doubt them. Do you have a mother or a parent who was abused? So you just have this mandate to always protect your gender wherever they're found, no matter, even when they're wrong, right? Or did you have a loss or heightened responsibility while growing up, and so you struggle with not being able to control things? It's like if things are not in your control, they won't turn out fine. Or can you not be still? Must you always be engaged? Are you running from something? So it could also be that, are you overly independent, like you only trust yourself with yourself? Or are you overly dependent, where you cannot stand and be by yourself? All right. Are you guarded? Do you feel yourself like just refraining away from connecting to people? Are you like in your own world? Does your heart still beat? Do you still want to connect, or are you just like, let me just allow? And this is something that we do a lot in our generation. So maybe you've been cheated on a couple of times. So over time, you just kind of adjust to not want to have exclusivity with someone. I want to say that I'm jealous. So in an attempt to appear as if you are secure, you just like, oh, this person can do whatever things that they want and it doesn't touch you. But is that really healthy? Is that really how we're created to function? No. Even God is jealous. Right. So healthy looks like balance, where you can lead, you can follow, you love men or women. And I'm sorry, I don't mean bisexual relationship, please. You love as a person, you love the opposite gender, and you can also stand up to the opposite gender. You love your gender and you understand your own gender, and you can, stand up to them and correct. Like as a man now, I understand what it's like to be a man, but if a man is doing something that's wrong, I will not side with a man and just say, oh, because we're men. No, you're wrong. Right. I once heard this from a colleague where I interned, and I think it's a very beautiful way he put it. And he said, David, I trust people until they give me a reason to not trust them. And I don't wait for people to give me a reason to trust them. So he was just talking about his own way of living, that he trusts people until they give him a reason to not trust them. And I thought that was so beautiful. Or here another thought, right? Are you interdependent? And this is when you know that you're good by yourself and you can survive by yourself, but you know that you're better with other people, so you choose to depend on other people. Do you have a healthy desire for living, right? Are you comfortable with winning and also others winning as well? Do you want to serve others in love and also know how to correct them in love? Can you be bold and discreet when you need to? This is what healthy looks like. It looks like a balance, like where you can choose your response and not experiences choosing them for you. So healing is possible, and we're going to be going on that journey over the course of the conversation on the episodes. And I would even say that it's simple, but it's not easy. And this is not me trying to give podcast logic. What I mean by that is that simple in the sense that what to do is clear, but it is not easy in the sense that it will take effort, it will take discipline, and it might take some discomfort, but it's actually simple and can be done. And if you take the heart of what I talked about earlier, of progression over perfection, where we just take little steps in the right direction consistently, there is a world with the healed you, and it's actually very, very possible. So here's another reason why we need to answer these questions, and that's the fact that unresolved hurts have this way of shaping how we see the world. And if that lasts for a while, the repeated evidence from your experiences can make you start to believe that is the truth, so much so that it becomes a part of your identity. So you could have a moment where something happened, it changed how you acted, and for a while you kept on acting from the perspective of your hurts to the point that you believe that this is who you were, and it becomes something that you are so strong and so certain that this is who you are. So it's very, very important that we ask that question, like, are you wounded? Are you wounded? And so I would say that let's heal. This might be the first time that you've ever asked this question, but go ask someone. Ask someone that you trust or someone that cares for you that, do you think there are areas where I'm in, where I'm hurting or where I'm wounded, where I'm overly sensitive? Allow them answer those questions. And as Africans rather, we need it the most. Because do you know what it means for our own blood pressure reading to be different? We carry so much in our chest that our bodies have adjusted. I'm joking. It's not just for Africans, for the entire world. But you get my point, right? So ask those questions, and and let's start this journey. So, all right. So that's a wrap. So don't forget to rate the podcast, to follow, to share with someone, to listen from your heart, and to write if you notice something new. But above all things, don't love your job. Job your love. I don't know if you came across that real. Oh my god, but the internet really killed me with the things that they created to make fun of that episode. But nonetheless, I'm joking. But more importantly, let's start the conversations that matter, and let's spark a trail of healing. So with much love from my heart, I hope this blesses you, and see you next time at the harbor. Bye. So I'm David Cromwell. Jesus Christ. I'm David Cromwell. And one of the most interesting things that I have come to see from these exposes gosh, help me.